peeps, in this video we'll continue the topic of refinement. We'll take a closer look at the attributes and see if there are any best ones and which are they. So let's first see what types of attributes there are. You have your city-oriented buffs, like hospital buffs, training, research and construction buffs, and rebel-related buffs for groups and leaders, respectively. After that, you have your battle-oriented buffs, like rally and reinforcement increases, troop stats, attack, defense and health. You also have total stats and reduced enemy total stats. Yeah, they're here on the bottom. And lastly, you have wall buffs for your wall and fortifications. So there are a lot of buffs, as you can tell, and it might be hard to choose which ones to try and get. And because of that, I'll divide my suggestions into two parts. The first one will be your early game, the time in the game when you mostly spend on upgrading your essentials in your account, like constructing the whole city to level 25, getting some essential researches done, grinding your lord gear from rebel leaders and rebel groups, all that kind of stuff would be your early game. So here you would want buffs that help you not in battle, but rather the opposite. You would want a better construction and research speed, endurance, and motivation recovery. Those are the four buffs. So the five buffs. No, the four buffs. I can't count without training speed. So those are the four buffs that you want to have in your early game to get a better start of your account. With the extra speed percents you would get, you'd be able to develop your city much faster, as the buffs can be quite helpful. For example, the 2 recovery buffs allow you to hit more rebel groups and rebel leaders per day. That makes your progress on gear faster and your blue diamond and speed up income bigger, and they also help your alliance, the motivation recovery one. So all are things that you want for your early game. Now, the second part of suggestions is related to the later stages of the game, where you would be participating in more events and more PvP fights. And you have your account developed to a really decent point, if I can say it like that, and you'd rather need something different than those early game buffs, because they won't be as beneficial to you as something else. Let's start with one of the best buffs in my opinion, the army size increase. In my opinion, every account should have that. Being able to send 240,000 more troops with your marches can often be the deciding factor for a battle. It's just too good of a buff to skip it. Also, if you're playing Zero Castle, you'd be able to blank out more troops with that attribute if you have it on all 8 slots. So yeah, it's a must-have if you ask me. For the other 3 buffs per piece, it really depends on what troops you want to be running. For example, if you're running one type only, and if we say that that type is cavalry, you would want to get attack, health and defense for cavalry, as that would be the most beneficial choice to buff up your army. You would get the most stats out of those 3 buffs, because you will be running one type of troops. Now, if you're running a second line of troops, so two types of troops, you have a few options. You can take both attack buffs for the 2 types of troops. So, for example, if I'm running cavalry and spearmen, I will take the attack buffs. um, and set the other buff, the fourth buff, supposing you have army size as well, the fourth buff per piece, to either health for your frontline, uh, total attack or enemy total attack reduction would be the other good choice. I would stick more with the enemy total attack reduction, as I feel it's quite helpful, but it's up to personal preference. Another thing you can do is to mix up the stat selection a bit and skip getting all 16 troop attack buffs. So you wouldn't be getting 8 times cavalry attack and 8 times spear attack. You can get them, let's say, 6 times both, and have 4 slots for something else from the other buffs. And you would be able to be a bit more flexible that way. But personally, I prefer the first option when you go full 2 lines attack and the 4th buff as something else. But in the end, it's up to personal choice and needs, and I can't tell you what to do with your account. Moving on, a thing we didn't mention at all are the rally buffs. The rally buffs, obviously, those are buffs that are designed for rally leads. And despite that, I think that the marching speed one can be skipped, as it's much worse than other buffs that you can take instead. It's just less beneficial for your battle. When it comes to rally size increase, for rally leaders you can take that as well, but of course that would limit your other buff counts from Refinement, as one of your slots will be rally size expansion. So it's again finding out what would work for your account depending on your other stats and buffs. If you have high stats from other places like commanders and gear and badges and so on, you can for sure take rally size expansion. But if your stats aren't that good, maybe you should skip it. And lastly, I would like to mention again the motivation recovery bonus. Even in the later stages of the game, it's quite useful if you're a rally filler account. So if you're an account that doesn't initiate rallies, your stats won't matter as much as you would be joining the rallies, and it would be much better if you could provide your alliance with more daily rebel leader kills, and that would benefit both yourself and your alliance. So that motivation recovery buff is really good, and you can pretty much run it all the time. With that said, we've reached the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed and it was helpful, and until next time.